Break a good bar of chocolate and you will hear it, a sharp, clean snap. That little sound is a secret. It means something was done exactly right. And almost no one who eats it knows what that something is. Because the chocolate you love does not begin in a factory. It begins as a bitter seed, wrapped in slime on a tree near the equator. And its real flavor is born, of all places, in a pile of rotting fruit. This is the true journey from a bitter bean to a smooth, glossy bar. And it is far stranger than anything printed on the wrapper. It all starts on a small, fussy tree called cacao. Cacao only grows in the hot, wet band within about 20 degrees of the equator. It needs constant warmth, heavy rain, and the shade of taller trees above it. Strangest of all, its fruit grows straight out of the trunk in thick branches. These pods come in wild colors: yellow, orange, deep red, even purple. Each one is about the size of a small rugby ball. Most of the world's cocoa is grown by millions of smallholder farmers, many in West Africa. There is no machine for the harvest. Each ripe pod is cut down by hand. A worker splits the tough pod open with a blade, and inside waits a surprise. No brown and no sweetness, just pale beans wrapped in soft white pulp. That pulp is sweet and fruity, tasting a little like mango or lychee. The raw beans themselves are pale, bitter, and so harsh you would spit them out. So how on earth do these bitter seeds ever become chocolate? The path ahead has many steps, and most happen before any factory. Ferment, dry, roast, grind, conch, and temper. Miss one and it is ruined. The first step is the strangest of all, and it happens right there on the farm. The beans and their wet pulp are piled into wooden boxes or heaped under banana leaves. And then they are left to rot on purpose for several days. This is fermentation, and it is the single most important step in all of chocolate. Wild yeasts in the air land on the sweet pulp and begin to feast. Yeast makes alcohol, bacteria make acid, and the whole pile heats up. Inside the heap, the temperature can climb to around 50 degrees Celsius. That heat and acid soak into the beans and kill the seed inside forever. And as the seed dies, hundreds of brand new flavor compounds are created within it. This is where chocolate flavor is truly born, not in a factory but in rotting fruit. Workers turn the piles by hand so that every single bean ferments evenly. After fermenting, the wet beans are spread out to dry, usually under the open sun. For up to 2 weeks, they are raked and turned across huge wooden platforms. Drying halts the fermentation and lowers the moisture so mold can never take hold. Only now do they finally look the part, brown, hard, and ready to travel. They are packed into sacks and shipped from the farms to chocolate makers worldwide. Only after all of this, at last, does the story reach the factory. At the factory, the beans are cleaned and then roasted much like coffee. They tumble inside hot, rotating drums at around 120 degrees or more. Roasting deepens the color, burns off harshness, and unlocks that classic chocolate aroma. This is the Maillard reaction, the same browning that flavors toast and seared steak. The whole building begins to smell, unmistakably like chocolate. But inside each roasted bean are 2 parts that must now be torn apart. The brittle roasted beans are cracked into small pieces by a machine. This loosens the thin, papery shell from the meat of the bean inside. A blast of air blows the light shells away in a step called winnowing. What remains are the nibs, small, dark, pure pieces of roasted cacao. These nibs are the real raw chocolate, and they are about to become liquid. The nibs are ground between heavy rollers of stone or steel. And something surprising happens. The dry nibs turn into a thick, flowing liquid. That is because a cacao nib is over half fat, a fat called cocoa butter. The grinding heats and crushes the nibs until that cocoa butter melts and flows. The result is called cocoa liquor, though it holds no alcohol at all. This dark liquid is pure, unsweetened chocolate, bitter, intense, 100% cacao. From here, the maker faces a choice that splits into everything on the shelf. Some liquor is squeezed in a mighty press, under enormous pressure. The press splits it into two things, a golden fat and a dry brown cake. The golden fat is pure cocoa butter, the ingredient that makes chocolate melt in your mouth. The dry cake is ground into cocoa powder, the base of hot drinks and baking. One press, two ingredients. This simple split is the heart of the whole industry. To make a bar, the maker mixes these ingredients back together in careful amounts. Cocoa liquor, extra cocoa butter, and sugar. That right there is dark chocolate. Add dried milk powder, and you get the softer, sweeter taste of milk chocolate. Use only cocoa butter, milk, and sugar, with no dark solids, and you get white chocolate. That is why white chocolate is pale. It is chocolate with the brown part left out. But if you tasted this mixture now, you would frown. It is gritty. Under a microscope, it is full of jagged sugar and cocoa particles, rough on the tongue. So the chocolate is poured into a machine that will roll and knead it for hours. This step is called conching, named after the shell-shaped tubs first used to do it. Heavy rollers push the chocolate against itself, over and over, grinding every particle smaller. They are crushed down to around 20 microns, too small for your tongue to feel. A fine dark chocolate may be conched for as long as 3 whole days. The endless motion and gentle heat also drive off harsh, sour, and vinegary notes. Hour after hour, the gritty paste becomes a silky, glossy river of chocolate. Now it tastes perfect and feels perfect, but it is still not ready. One trap remains. Pour this warm chocolate into a mold right now, let it cool, and you would fail. It would set soft and dull, streaked with ugly pale marks, and it would crumble. That flaw is called bloom, and it comes down to one ingredient misbehaving: cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is a strange fat. As it hardens, it can freeze into 6 different crystal shapes. Scientists number these forms 1 through 6, and only one of them makes good chocolate. That one is form 5, glossy, firm, and melting right at body temperature. Which is why good chocolate melts on your warm tongue, but never in your cool hand. Each crystal form melts at a different temperature, and only one sits just right. Too low and the bar is soft and dull. Form 5 is the sweet spot. The problem is, cocoa butter does not naturally choose form 5. We have to force it. This coaxing is called tempering, and it is the most delicate science in the craft. First, the chocolate is warmed until every last crystal melts away, near 50 degrees. Then it is cooled, slowly and with constant stirring, down to about 27 degrees. As it cools, crystals begin to form, but a messy mix of good and bad kinds. Then it is warmed again, just gently, to around 31 degrees for dark chocolate. That soft warmth melts away every crystal, except the stable, desirable form 5. What remains is chocolate seeded, all the way through, with millions of perfect form 5 crystals. Each tiny crystal acts as a template, teaching the rest to freeze the very same way. This is the climax of the whole journey, weeks of work decided in a few degrees. Get it wrong, and all that flavor is trapped in a dull, crumbling brick. Now, at last, the perfectly tempered chocolate is poured into waiting molds. The molds are vibrated hard to shake out every trapped bubble of air. They might form a plain solid bar or a hollow shell for a filling. Then they glide through a cooling tunnel, and the form 5 crystals lock into place. As it sets, the chocolate shrinks just slightly and pulls cleanly away from the mold, which is why a finished bar slips out so easily and thumps onto the line. It is wrapped, sealed against heat and moisture, and sent out into the world. And now at last, that snap makes perfect sense. The clean break is millions of Form 5 crystals, all packed tightly in one direction. The glossy shine is that same perfect structure, reflecting light like polished glass. And the melt is cocoa butter, tuned to let go exactly at the warmth of your mouth. A bar that snaps, shines, and melts just so was a bar tempered exactly right. But remember where its soul really came from, not the gleaming factory. It was born on a farm, in a steaming pile of fruit, through days of wild fermentation. A bitter seed, rotted on purpose, dried in the sun and coaxed into one perfect crystal. So the next time you hear that snap, you will know it was never simple. From a bitter bean born in rot to the most beloved flavor on earth, extraordinary.